Life is precious, and we all have the opportunity of living it to the fullest. Unfortunately, so few of us know how to manage it all. How do we account for our opportunities? How do we account for our time? How do we account for our relationships, health, spirituality, homes, finances, influence, and careers? How do we account for the one life we have to live? I am so glad you asked. In this program, you will find answers to all of these questions and more. Welcome to the Account for Your Life podcast with your host, the healthy accountant himself, Jay Moore.
What's happening, everybody? Guys, I want to welcome you back to another episode of the Account for Your Life podcast. It's your boy, Jay Moore, the healthy accountant, helping you to account for life. Today on the Account for Life podcast, here's what we're talking about. We're going to talk about how to make the most of your gifts, your talents, your abilities, all those things that you know how to do, or maybe you think you know how to do it. And we're just going to talk about how we can make the most of those without losing them, because if you don't use it, you lose it. So guys, let's jump right into this. So I've got a car sitting out in front of my house, right? It's a 2006 Acura MDX, and we've had that car for some time. I think we got it in 2009. So I want you to consider that we've had that car for a while. We've been holding on to cars for the kids. They learn how to drive in the car, and it's been sitting out there. And my son Jacob, he had been learning on it, driving it, and it's been sitting there. It's been sitting there for the past couple of months, like it hadn't been driven. Maybe, man, I almost feel like he hasn't driven it. That he started driving the other cars, and it's just been sitting there. And so I'm looking at the car. Normally I have the key. The key is sitting where I can get to it, but the key wasn't there. Jacob had moved the key. It's in his room, like kids. He's like, "Oh, it's my car now." But the key is in. So I said, "Hey, I need to bring the key downstairs." So I finally get the key. And now here's what's interesting. A few months ago, maybe about maybe about a year ago, just under a year, I bought one of those battery boosters. Because I used to jump cars with the cables, and what I found is the cables are not necessarily the best way to jump a car. So I had to buy a battery booster, standalone. That if your battery is dead, this is going to jump it. This is going to definitely give it some power. Now, if the battery is really gone, it's not going to come back. So yesterday I said, "Man, let me get out here and see if this car is going to turn on." Nothing. First, I went to open the door with the clicker. I was like, "Oh, the battery is dead." I'm like, "Goodness gracious." So go get the battery booster. I jumped the car. Now, here's the thing. When your battery is dead, then it's like, it doesn't matter. I let it run. I drove it around the neighborhood, came back, turned it off. It was still dead. I'm like, jump it again. Then I drove it around the neighborhood, came back, let it run for about an hour, took it out again. This time I went and drove about 30 minutes. I was like, "Hey, let me see if I can get this battery back." So finally, after I got back, and it was still feeling like it was acting up, but it finally turned back on. Now, I haven't tested it this morning. I need to test it again this morning. I was going to drive it this morning, but I had to put gas in Jenny's car. But what you and I can realize is that it doesn't matter. Like, you can have something that's really good. You can have something that works. Like, when I turn the car, this car works really good. Like if you heard the car, hey, good morning. How are you, Rhonda? If you heard the car, right? If you heard the car, you would like the engine. The engine is good. Like, you turn that car and like, man, this car feels like it still drives really good. So it's not like it's outside of a couple of dings and stuff on the car, but the car still drives really good. And so it was interesting because it's like, wow, you turn the car on, but it still sounds almost new. But it wasn't being driven, and when something's not being used, it immediately deteriorates. I want you to think about this. What's in your life that you know how to do? Maybe it's a gift, it's a talent, right? And the thing is, maybe you just haven't been using it. I got a text yesterday from my basketball friends. I would almost have to say I used to play basketball, right? Because I haven't really played. I've shot around, but I haven't really played since 2020. Like since the pandemic, team that I was on, we won the championship. Yeah, I look really young, right? But I'm 50. So what happens is at that age, when you don't play, when I'm not getting up and down that court jumping, then I don't care. Like, I work out, but what I realize is that it doesn't matter. I'm not 25. I am not even 30, let alone 40. At 40, I still was playing in like 5 different leagues. I didn't play. I'm like, man, I've been playing in 2.5 years to get this text. And they're just like, hey, we're thinking about having a league this year. Anybody? I'm sitting here like, man, am I going to say, well, I can't play anymore? But the thing is, if we don't actually, you said the sound is off. Somebody said the sound is off. What sound is off? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Hello, hello. Somebody can hear me. Somebody can hear me. Let me know if you can hear me. Let me know if you can hear me. Hello. Let me know if you can hear me in the chat. I see somebody's still on. Because I've been somebody. I think Rhonda heard me because she said she heard. All right. So, but anyway, so I'll keep going. But what I realized is that, man, when you're not using something, then it's almost impossible that it's going to be the same when you get ready to use it again. So a lot of us, we have gifts, we have talents, we have abilities, we have things that we can do in our life. And the big problem that we face, here's the big problem that we face, is that if like you got to a point where you felt like, man, I'm good to go. But here's the thing. It doesn't matter. I don't care how good we were. I don't care how, you might be able to still do it, but it's not going to be at the level that you would probably want. So you can talk to almost anybody who was really good at something. If they stop doing it for a period of time, when they come back to do it, they are like, man, I don't know. But how would we then change that? If you wanted to get to a point where you said, you know what? I don't want to ever get to a point where I have to, the atrophy is on me, or I have to change, or you then have to pick. You have to choose. You have to decide. Like these are pick and choose and decide are different. Decide is like only one thing. Pick and choose is just you can keep going back and forth. So think about all the abilities that you have, right? All the skills that you have, all the talents that you have, and you want to inventory these things and look at them, because when you look at these abilities, these talents, you can say, all right, if you got one thing that you're like, man, that thing right there, if I just do it over and over and over, if I just keep doing it, then what happens is you will see see results that you could never have fathomed. Here's what I discovered with learning something and doing things is that, guys, just because we know about something doesn't mean we know something. I'm going to say that again. Just because we know about something doesn't mean we know something. Look, I can go get a book and I read. I can go get a book and I can read a whole book. I can read it multiple times. Here's the problem. Here's the problem. Unless I take what's in the book and I do something, then I don't actually know it. See, that's the thing. That's the same thing with our abilities. Unless we actually do it over and over and over and over, then there's no way we can know it. So we might be able to pontificate, speak highly of ourselves, and we can just talk the talk. But then it's like, oh, well, let's get in the ring. Now, when we get in the ring, we get to start doing like, oh, well, man, it's not coming out the right way. Like when I go and do videos like this, I'm gonna tell you, if I have not practiced, part of a group that recently asked a question, it was like, hey, well, how do you practice? The group, because the group is about telling stories and getting on video and stuff. I do a podcast every single day. I got 237 days in. I've got 200 out of the 237 days. We got 234 podcasts done this year. Just on this particular podcast, 511. Then I mentioned this the other day. We've got probably over 2,000 practice points. I call this practice, right? Because this practice started out just for me, and then it may become valuable to you. You may say, oh, well, I can use some of this stuff. But if you want to grow your abilities, if you want to become more than you are, then the key is going to be practice and looking at your abilities, looking at your talents. And first you want to pick. Like if there's one thing, if you know, look, I can tell you specifically about getting on video. Like video is not hard. Like one of the things I realized that I had to change when I came on video, you see, I always keep kind of like a smile on my face, right? Because when I first got on video, I was always like talking like this, but then when I realized I kept looking at my face on the camera, I'm like, wait a second, I need to feel the video. So I'm looking at myself and I'm saying, hey, have a bright smile on your face. So if you ever go on video, you want to open your eyes. I learned this in music. Yeah, I used to sing. I was in a choir back when I was in high school, and the choir instructor, she gave us a specific way on how to sing, and so we would have to take our eyebrows and just pull them up, because what she said is, she called it head tones, right? And I'm not going to sing. Don't worry about it. You got to pull it out of your head. And so you want to pull it up and you want to make yourself feel good on camera. So you got to pick and choose the abilities that you're going to actually focus in on, because when you pick and choose the abilities, then what happens is you don't want to get to a point where you stop doing it. I can guarantee you, if I stop doing podcasts, if I stop speaking in front of the microphone and stop doing it, then it would become harder to come up with content. It would become harder to actually fit. Man, what am I going to talk about today? And what I've discovered is that the more I talk about something, the more I'm learning how to talk about something. Did you hear that? The more I talk about something, the more I learn about talking about something. Then that means that I'm actually learning how to do it. I'm actually doing it. And when you do it, and we're going to close here. When you do it, then you get to say you know it. But here's the thing, and we're going to get back to the problem. The problem is we tend to read, we tend to watch. Come on now, YouTube is nothing but watching. Sometimes like, man, I'm always watching something on YouTube. Am I watching too many people on YouTube? Now I'm there to help. I'm using things that can help me. To still, you got to do something. So look at areas of your life that you want to expand. Look at the things that you already know how to do. And even if you don't know how to do something, you can actually say, you know what? I don't know how to do it, but what if I just start doing it? What if I figure out what to do? Because that's the key. When you figure out what to do, then you can take that ability and then you can start doing it. I figured out I wanted to learn how to speak on camera. I figured out I wanted to learn how to tell stories. I figured I wanted to learn how to inspire. I figured I wanted to learn how to motivate. I figured I wanted to learn how to become more of myself. And because I wanted to know that, then that's when everything changed, because then I had to do something. I couldn't just say, I would like to know about that. Oh man, I'm going to read every book. I'm going to look at every podcast. I'm going to look at no, I got to start doing it now. So what's your takeaway today? Your takeaway is this: you have gifts, you have talents. And here's the thing, just like my car, if that car is not driven, I don't care how good the engine is, the battery is going to die. The engine, and then at some point, the longer you don't drive it, then all other problems start happening. Like, well, why is the car not working? Just like my body, because I have not played basketball, right? Then I almost don't want. I'm like, man, I don't even know if I want to do that. Because that's a whole nother level of putting my body through some things. I'm already doing some things with my body. So you want to look at your gifts and talents, and then you want to say, you know what is it that I'm going to focus on? And then now that you know what you're going to focus on, then now what's the action? What's the doing that you're going to actually use so that you can make that thing better? Because the only way something gets better, something has to get done. And so when you can say, man, I did it, man, it's done, then that's when you know you have made the most of your gifts, of your abilities. Guys, I want to thank you so much for joining me for this episode of the Account for Your Life podcast. I'm Jay Moore, your healthy accountant, helping you to account for your life. God bless, and I'll see you on the next episode. Peace.
Thanks for joining us, listening friends. We are so glad you invested this time with us. Always remember, you only have one life to live, so live it to the fullest. This has been the Account for Your Life podcast with your host, the healthy accountant himself, Jay Moore. Until next time, make it a great day.